Good evening. Welcome to Joy Mason Communications. This is my new YouTube page. And my name is Joy Mason. I'm a veterinarian, animal communicator, medical intuitive, medium, channeler, and I can consult you on a lot of things. But the thing that I talk to people about, what I wanted to talk about this evening was I want to talk about what happens to you and what happens to us when we have somebody that we love, be it a person in this case, or a pet, and they die suddenly. Back in 1984, I had one of my dogs get out of the backyard and get hit by a car. And I'm a veterinarian, and my ex-husband's a veterinarian, and we took him to the clinic and worked on him and had to let him go. And I had palpitations for a month. I'd never had one of my pets die like that before, and it was quite a shock. And what happened to my friend is that her husband had gone on a trip by himself to another state from where they live. And on the way back, something happened. He got a flat tire, something happened, and he passed away. And I had sent her a text that said something about, what's going on with your husband. I had shown him some products that I sell and was interested, wanted to see if he decided he wanted to buy something. And she said, well, he's gone. He passed away. And I called her right away and we talked. And it was a very odd conversation because I have been a medium for people for a very long time. And usually what happens is I don't let them into my space willingly, like the medium she's from New Jersey, I think. And, ghosts come to her, people come to her, and I don't usually let them into my space. Sometimes they're very forceful and I have no choice. And what happened was I was talking to her on the phone and he interrupted. He came in and he explained a couple of things and said a couple of things. And she had been wondering why he hadn't come and talked to her. And it turned out that he didn't listen to his wife, and she didn't want him to go on the trip in the first place. And then on the way back, she wanted him to stop and take a break, and he did not do that. And the result was that he passed away. And so she's upset on the earth side. He's upset on his side. And he wanted her to know that he was sorry he didn't listen. And there was a lot of grief between the two of them. And so I told her what he wanted to tell her. And when she's ready, we're going to do a reading on him, with him, and I will be the medium. I'm in between the two of them, and the information will come from him through me to her, and she can ask questions, and that's the flow. It's like I become I'm a channel, I'm a telephone between the two of them. And I usually try to video it because I don't remember what's been said because I'm just speaking for someone else. It's not my own data. I very seldom remember the actual reading. So I thought that I have done a short video that explains, a very short video I did on my phone that explains a little bit about the medium consult, but I thought I'd kind of elaborate on it here because I do it for people and pets, and the pets came first because I became I started doing animal communicating in, 1988. Graduated from vet school in 1983. Started doing animal communicating probably around 1988. And I found out later that a lot of animal communicators start with pictures. Well, I started in the back of my clinic with animals and having to touch them and getting information from them, how their body feels, what are they thinking, are they suffering, are they in pain, that kind of thing. And then that went on to, as I was doing that, what started happening to me is my mother, who had passed away in the early 90s, my mother would come to me when I would be talking to someone that I was reading their pet. And my mother would say, here, you have to talk to her. This is her dog. You have to talk to her. And I'm like, Mom, I'm looking at the person that I'm reading the dog for that's on the earth plane, and my mother's coming from the spiritual world, tapping me on the shoulder saying, you have to talk to this lady because this is her dog, you see. And the lady had already passed, obviously. So I would get mad at my mom because it is really hard for me. And of course, I was open to communication at that time because I was talking to the dog of the person that had passed. But she'd bring them to me, and I finally just gave up, and I said, okay, I'll do people that have passed. But usually my normal protocol is that I have to have a picture of the person that passed. And I never want a picture until just before the reading, because if you email me a picture and I see the picture and the conversation starts and you're not there for me to give it to you, then I am very bad about remembering what that person said. So that's how it works with people and with animals. And I find that as painful as it is to lose either, you're a loved one that you've been with for decades, your pet of any type, doesn't matter what type of pet it is, I can definitely read them. It's the grieving process, and you grieve. It comes in waves. Sometimes you're angry from the very beginning, or sometimes you get angry later. I know that when my mother passed, my mother had a plethora of problems and cancer and that kind of thing. And I remember when she left, I kind of waited for I wanted the whole world to stop for just a second and acknowledge that this wonderful person had lived, my mother. And the world just keeps going on. People are going on. I mean, if we had to stop, I guess I finally figured if we had to stop for every person that passed, we wouldn't be going anywhere. So obviously your circle stops, but the rest of the world does not stop. And that was kind of a cruel realization for me at the time. So what happens is you're the one you and your family, you're the ones that are going through the sorrow and the grief. And the purpose of my service is to help reestablish a communication. Maybe it's someone who committed suicide, and I have read those, and you didn't expect it, and you want to talk to them and find out what's going on. Maybe it's a person that has Alzheimer's that is still here, but you're having a hard time talking with them, or they're semi-comatose, or I've done a reading for, weeks of one of my friends that was in the hospital with COVID on a ventilator. And I would have his family on the phone, and I'd be looking at his picture, and they would talk and ask him questions. So the way that works is that I'm obviously not talking to the body, I'm talking to the spirit inside of the body, which can still communicate on a level that I'm able to match where they are. And I have no idea how I do it. I self-taught. I don't know how I do it. I really couldn't explain it to you, except it's a vibrational thing. It's a harmonic thing, and I get on that vibration, and then the communication starts. So there's no mystery to it. There's no smoke and mirrors. I feel blessed to be able to help people on this level. I know there's probably a lot of people that think there's something kind of hinky, as my ex-husband would say about it, but I feel blessed that I've been given the ability to help people in this way, because it can be very, very hard, and you have questions and you want to know things, and just tapping into them and finding out how they're doing and making sure that you don't have any misunderstandings. I have a client that I've been doing this with for over 10 years. Her husband passed away a little over 10 years ago, and the level of our conversation from when he first passed to the level of conversation that we have now has evolved from, I don't even remember what we were talking about at first. It was her grief and handling her grief and how is he doing, and do you remember this happening on the night you passed, and what about this, and did I make the right decision, and that kind of thing. And it's gone to, well, what do you think about what's happening now in the world, and how are things going where you are, and what are you doing, and he's had a couple of jobs that he's done there, and he's gone from one job to another. So it's a very interesting scenario for me of what happens, and the questions that she asks are very heartfelt and deep, deeper than I would ask. I don't consider myself a very deep person. I'm a veterinarian, but I don't consider myself much into philosophy and that kind of thing. But they've had these conversations, and I say they have had these conversations because, like I said before, I am just the via. So if you think, if you're suffering and you're in grief, and you think that just maybe doing something like this would help you, I would encourage you to contact me. My website is joymason.com, and the services are all outlined there, everything that I do, animals and people. And my phone number is there. You can always text me. We can do a brief intro consultation that's just you asking questions about how it works. And like I said, I can't tell you how I do it. I don't know. I came upon it and I played with it, and according to my client, that the one that I've been working with the longest consistently, she says that for her it feels like the three of us are sitting at a Starbucks and having a coffee and chatting. It's just that it becomes that easy. It's become that easy for me because of the consistency of doing these readings with her and her husband over the last over 10 years. So think about it. See how you feel about it. Give me a call. I just know that people that I've worked with, survivors of this tragedy, have a little peace, and it makes me feel good to be able to help you in that way and give you a little peace. So please don't be afraid to contact me, and I would like to help. So take care, and maybe we'll meet someday.